Hey, my name's Joel. Welcome to my warehouse, and in this video, I'm going to be giving you an honest review and an overview of the SF80 radiant heater from Sunfire. Now, I've owned their SF120 for a while now. They have different levels. 120 has 120,000 BTUs. This SF80 has 80,000 BTUs. And we're both going to go over the features of this, how it works, and then compare it to the SF120 so you can see which one's right for you and the differences between these two. But the first thing you need to know about this heater, what attracted me to it, is that this is a made in America product. They're made in Wisconsin, and that really gets me excited when I see this is an American-made product. It stays right here. They really guarantee this for a long time. It has, I believe, a 2-year warranty, but they say with proper maintenance, it can last a decade or more. These things are built tough. Go watch some of the videos on them. I've seen them hook these things up to cranes and throw them across a yard, and they still work. But what I love about this one specifically is that it's smaller and it's portable. So my SF120 is large. It would be hard for two people to pick up and put on the back of a truck. This only weighs 85 pounds. So you and a friend could pick this up, put it in the back of a truck, easily take it to a job site, a work site, any other place other than your regular garage, and it heats up to 1,900 square feet. And I love these heaters because they're not blowing out air like all the other torpedo heaters or forced air heaters that you see. They're radiant heaters, so they're quite literally heating the objects in the room, which means they're quieter and they're cleaner. You see inside this megaphone looking piece up front, it's spinning the fuel in like a tornadic direction and burning almost every single ounce of fuel that they use. So there's no carbon monoxide output. So it's totally safe to use in a garage, in a warehouse, not rated to use inside your actual home. Now, the SF80 is rated for a space up to 1,900 square feet, so that would actually heat an entire 2-3 car garage. A large garage space would be just fine for this heater, and it comes, get this, 100% assembled. So the SF120 took me about 15-20 minutes to put together with the wheels and the handles, but this thing comes out of the box looking exactly like this. All the handles, all the wheels, all the bars attached. This fin didn't have to be assembled, all like this. So that's a huge selling point for this model particularly. All right, so let's start things off on this side of the unit by talking about the fuel tank. This is a 6-gallon tank on the SF80, and it's a dual fuel capable machine, meaning you can burn both kerosene and diesel fuel in there in any ratio. So if you've been burning kerosene and you have even half a tank of kerosene left, you can throw diesel in on top of that. It will continue to burn, no problem at all. Dual fuel, any ratio can be mixed. This is where you put your fuel in, and this twist-off cap also has a flotation level indicator right there. That's a little different than the SF120 because the tank is a little bit smaller, but you'll see we put about 3.5 gallons in here, so we have about half a tank to get us going. I also want to point out that all your fuel lines and fuel filter are easily accessible and exposed right here in the middle of the unit for maintenance and repair. And one more thing to mention on the side here, we have these large adjustment bolts with these easy twist tops on them that allow you to adjust the angle of the barrel, I'll call it, down the center of the machine. So because this is smaller, a little lower to the ground, you can angle this upwards and then tighten it back and you're good to go. Now around back, we have a handle that simply is released by a pin, and you can pick it up and roll it around on these wheels that are on the front. Now these small wheels on the SF80 are one piece. They're a hardcore rubber wheel. It's not two-piece, it's not air inflated, and they do come installed like this. These wheels are only about 3 or 4 inches wide, so you're not going to be going off terrain, in gravel, maybe some packed dirt, but this is meant for hard packed concrete surfaces like a garage or a driveway. Now on the other side of the unit, we have your electrical components here. Obviously, this is your plug that you would attach to a longer extension cord. You want to make sure you have a high quality, high gauge extension cord rated for a heater like this. But I believe they give you about 1 foot of length here just so there's not an attached cord that you're constantly running over. This does not reach the ground. I believe that's purposeful. So you do need to add an extension cord to this so that you can maneuver it around and for travel, but then plug it in when you're ready to go. Right next to it is the power indicator light. And all the way over here on this end, this is just a filler plug because they include this gray cable with the unit that allows you to take this plug out, and you would put this gray plug in here, and then you could wire the end of this to a thermostat so that you could have it kick on and off at certain temperatures. You wouldn't want to leave it by itself and let it run unattended, but with the thermostat included, you don't have to constantly turn it off and turn it on based on how hot the room is getting. You can allow the SF80 to do that for you. So operation is dead simple with these heaters. In case you ever forget, the instructions are printed right here. Start up, shut down. It's really quite simple. You start by plugging it in through a good extension cord. Make sure you're not overloading your circuits. And once you're plugged in, all you have to do is turn it on. The only other step is to prime your fuel line. Now the primer button is not back here. The primer button is right over here, behind this, which the first time I used this heater, it was hard to find. But once you know where it is, very easy. And I'm gonna actually flip this around so you can see when we hold the primer button, it moves the fuel from the tank all the way up here to the ignition source. And you're gonna see it move through the line the very first time because I haven't fired this particular heater up yet. All right, so we're ready for first fire here. I'm going to give you a good look at the fuel lines. You'll see they're clear, nothing in them. We haven't fired it up yet. So my first step is to come over here, right here to the primer button, and I'm going to press that button. Now what I want to do is hold the button down for up to 60 seconds. You'll hear the noise of the pump kicking on, and when the pump gets quieter, then you know the fuel has filled the lines. So we should be able to press this button and begin to see the fuel come through the line right down there. So here we go. There it is. You hear it. Oh, there goes the fuel. And you heard how much quieter it got there. Now that we've successfully primed, we can come here to the back. We can turn this on. And you'll hear it kick on. And all we do is wait. There we go. Just notice how quiet that is. Again, it's not blowing air out. It is simply radiating heat out. That's why it's so much quieter. That whole startup process took about 10 seconds. Once the fuel has gotten through the lines, you'll see there's the fuel lines from there. And you'll just hear everything running quietly and efficiently inside this machine. And you'll notice they have this guard up front that just keeps you from touching anything. It can get quite hot if you put your hand all the way up there, but again, it's not blowing air out here. It's just radiating it out into the room and heating objects. So having owned and used the SF120 for a while, I can tell you this is definitely quieter, which I would have expected because it's a smaller unit, but it's also radiating a lot of heat for such a small package. You know, standing kind of in the area of the SF120 gives you the same feel as the SF80. I know this is rated up to 1,900 square feet. I believe that is up to 2,600 square feet, but 80,000 BTUs is still a lot of heat and a lot of coverage. So for something this quiet and this portable, it's impressive. Okay, so while she's shutting down here, I'm gonna bring my SF120 over so we can set them side by side and do a little comparison to close out this video. All right, so here are the two units side by side. I thought it would be really useful to see them together and talk about some of the things that are different. Obviously, the front cones look very similar. It's constructed exactly the same. The only difference is size. This is 120,000 BTU output. This is 80,000 BTU output. The SF80 only weighs 85 pounds. The SF120 weighs 125 pounds. And you can see the 120 has much larger wheels here than the tiny little wheels on the SF80, and the tubing around here is about twice the diameter as the tubing on the SF80. Of course, their fuel tanks are different. We got 14 gallons over here, we got 6 gallons over here, but the way they operate is almost exactly the same. Same process, same priming, same buttons, and everything. And of course, we talked about at the beginning, this is no assembly at all, and this unit requires, I would say, 15 to 20 minutes of light assembly. So you can take a look at those two things, look at the size of your space, the way that you're going to use them, and see which one is right for you. So that's it for the SF80 radiant heater from Sunfire. If you can't tell, I absolutely love my Sunfire heaters. I'm going to keep my eyes open for anything that Sunfire puts out in the future because it's a well-made, American-made, safe product that I can use in tons of applications, take care of, and use for years and years and years to come. I like having well-built things that just work and that will work for a long time. So I think you should check it out for yourself. You're really going to like this one.